For the month of July 2025, I am rebroadcasting some of my favorite episodes from season 1 back in 2023. And today's episode, number 110, is part 2 of last week's pod on discovering the busyness barriers that keep you from finding balance. So go back and listen if you missed it. The link's in the show notes. Because today I'm going to jump back into that conversation with the wise and lovely Sandy Cooper from the Balanced Momcast, and she's got some life-changing insights for us. So listen in. Hey friend, do you desire to connect with God in real and tangible ways? Do you struggle with the reality that life just hasn't gone the way you imagined it would? Well, you have come to the right place, and you're not alone. I'm Shelly Sneed, the host of Unperfect, and it's my weekly mission to inspire women like you and me to grow spiritually through authentic stories rooted in the truth of God's Word. Hope and probably some humor are coming up. Last week, Sandy talked with me about the roots of our busyness and how busyness can negatively impact our relationships, our health, our effectiveness as believers, so many things. And then she described the first busyness personality, and that is the poor time manager. That's me. Sometimes this is a person who isn't necessarily doing too much, but they struggle with time management. Maybe they don't have a great idea of what their priorities are, or it could be a person who actually lacks the self-discipline, also me, which causes them to waste time doing unnecessary things. Well, there's another type of poor time manager that Sandy is going to start us off with today.
And then the third kind of poor time manager person is a perfectionist. And this is more me. I'm more this person. I'm the one who I have the right amount of things on my plate, but when I get into a project, I want it just so. I spend way too much time getting it just so. I don't know when to walk away from it. It's really, really difficult for me to pull away because I just think if I just had more time, I'd be able to get this a little bit better. No matter what it is, whether it's making dinner or writing a podcast script or cleaning or anything. Like I can do it better. My workouts,
Right.
If I just had more time, I could just work out a little bit longer, a little bit better. Like everything feels like that to me. So that's the poor time manager. So again, she doesn't have too much to do. She just isn't managing what she has to do well.
Right.
And then the other kind of busy person is truly the overcommitted busy person. And she does have too much on her plate. So there's a couple of reasons why she might have gotten there. One is that she might be a people pleaser. So a people pleaser will say yes to things that they have no business saying yes to because they're afraid to say no. They don't like what it feels like to disappoint people. They are addicted to approval. The root of that is fear. Some of it is pride. And so she just says yes to too much. The second is the person who feels trapped, like she doesn't have any control over her schedule. This person usually does everything for everyone. And if you took her through each item on her to-do list, she would argue to the death as to why she was the only person who could do it. And she would not... She would feel like she truly cannot release one single thing. And that is usually rooted in control. It's also a person who lacks boundaries, doesn't know how to tell people no, but it's not for the same people-pleasing way. It's more of a control, I've got this kind of way. And then there are those of us who have fallen into the comparison trap. And those are the people who look around and they see what everyone else is doing, and so they assume that they're supposed to be doing that too. And you can pick your person that you're comparing yourself to. It might be your sister, your mom, your best friend, your neighbor, your whole social media feed. I mean, it could be a slew, a combination, but you're saying yes to things and you're adding things because you're like, oh, Sandy has a vegetable garden. I need to buy a tomato plant. Sandy doesn't have a vegetable garden, FYI. So that is not true. Or, you might think Sandy has 2 podcasts. I should do 2 podcasts. Like, no, you shouldn't. Not unless God told you to do 2 podcasts. Should you do 2 podcasts? I was very careful before I brought that on, but the person who's trapped by comparison doesn't consider what it might look like for her to try to hold herself to a standard that she projects onto other people. It's just a whole thing. There's several chapters on the comparison trap.
This is listed in one of your steps and strategies, but it kind of goes to that. I think sometimes we compare ourselves with people who are different seasons than us. And you talk about that later in the book, but that was we had a season of life, a very long season of life, where we were dealing with kids who had been through medical or developmental trauma, and our lives were just not such that I could do what everyone else was doing. I couldn't volunteer, but I was trying to, because I don't know if it was control or comparison. It's probably a mixture of everything. But it took God a long time. Sometimes I feel bad. I think maybe that's why he left us in that season so long, because it took me that long to realize this is not your season to do that. Like, you need to let that go.
Right. That is so true. And really, whenever we compare ourselves to other people in any season, like our capacity is not comparable to other people's capacity. Like, you and I can have the exact same, we can be in the same season. Our kids could be the same age. We could be doing similar things. We could have same size house, live in a same city, both be doing the same kind of work, but you might have a slightly greater capacity for activity than me. And so when you are doing your thing and there's all these things on your list and your schedule, you might be completely fine and I might be losing my mind.
Right.
And so you just can't even, like, comparison is never a good idea. There are 0 times in the Bible where we see someone comparing themselves to someone else and it turns out really well. Like, it just never happens.
That is a great point. Yes.
Yes, 0 times. In fact, I will venture to say that every single time a blatant example of comparison is shared in Scripture, it ends in murder or attempted murder. And you can study that out.
Interesting. Yes, absolutely.
Very interesting. Yes. And then the final kind of overcommitted person is the person who just truly does not see the value in a non-busy life. And she wears her busyness like a badge of honor. And she wrongly sees busyness as good and non-busyness as lazy and bad. And so she just heaps all this stuff on her schedule because she feels like if she slows down, she'd be disappointing God somehow, or she just wouldn't be okay with herself if she just slowed down, or, people expect this of her. And so she just has to keep going because this is how you, fill in the blank for something godly and good. That's how you get it, is by just cramming it and going fast. And so yeah, there are a lot of reasons why you might get to have too much on your plate. And so it really does require you to kind of do some digging and soul searching and figure out where you fall there.
Absolutely. And I'll go back several points ago when you were talking about she doesn't know her priorities, because, interestingly, I think I'm every type of busy person that you mentioned, except maybe not the perfectionist. Yeah. But again, I've had to learn and work through different seasons, but that doesn't know your priorities. And I'm not going to get into this because I'm going to point people to the episodes where you talk about this on the Balanced Momcast. But you guys, Sandy, there was a major breakthrough in my life when I heard your podcast about your routines, because I, for decades, have been downloading other people's schedules. Like, oh, you want to eliminate, whatever in your life, stress, whatever, download this schedule and do this weekly schedule, whatever. I've killed many trees with all the other people's schedules I downloaded, and they never worked. And what I finally realized with yours was the reason it didn't work for me is because that was someone else's plan. And so your approach wasn't download this, free schedule. It was look at what God is calling you to do, who you want to be, and then establish some routines that'll enable you to get there. And again, I won't go into detail on that because you do a fabulous job on that, but that was so powerful to me to just think through I just thought that was brilliant. Like, for the first time, I realized I need to make my own schedule based on what God has called me to do and how to think through that.
That's right. Yes. And this, again, it takes some knowing yourself and spending some time with God before you can
Absolutely.
even, yeah, like how do you even get to, like, when I just throw out there you should know your priorities. Well, that's a whole load full of, like, that,
Yes.
how do you even do that? So I, in the first part of the book, I actually take us through, like, what does God say our priorities are?
Mm, right.
And go way back to, like, what did Jesus say was the most important thing that we do?
Mm,
And so, he said, if I had to, like, when they tried to corner him and say, what is the greatest commandment? He said, it's to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And everything else hangs on this. Like, all
right.
the law and prophets hang on these two truths. And so I would say that when you get those two things right, that everything else falls into place. Well, then you have to ask yourself, what does loving God and loving everyone in my life look like right now? What is
Right.
that? What is God asking me to do? How am I supposed to be showing up? If God is God calling me to a time every day to spend time with him and study his word and worship and attend church? Is he calling me to teach something? Is he calling me to serve somewhere? That's going to look different for me than it's going to look
Exactly.
for you. And then
Exactly.
what does my family look like right now? If I'm a mom and I have kids in the home, that's a priority. And I need to make that a priority. And, do I work outside the home? That's a priority. Am I married? Priority.
Right.
And depending on the ages of my kids, priorities for newborns are different than priorities for 22-year-olds who are
Right.
attending graduate school. You know what I mean? It's different.
Yes.
And so it really does require you to step back and go deep and ask God, what are you asking of me right now? And then build your life and, like you said, your routines around those things that are the priorities. And yeah, so there's a system, there's a process that I take people through, because there is no quick fix. Like, I'm not going to tell you, you know what, you really should not
Right.
be doing XYZ, because I don't know what God's telling you to do.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. I love that. I love that.
yeah,
Okay, so if someone wants to break through this barrier to balance, that is this
yeah.
busyness, and they are really resonating with a lot of the things you've said here, what would be a few steps or first few steps? You list a lot of great strategies in the book, but what can you tell us
Yeah.
here would be a first few good steps to take toward freedom in this area?
Well, I'm going to just reiterate what I've already said probably 3 times already, and it really is understanding the root of your busyness.
Mm,
Like, you have got to understand how you got there in the first place. And until you understand the root of why you're busy in the first place, you can't address it. So the analogy that I like to use is, if you came to me and told me that you had a headache, okay, you might need glasses and that's why you have a headache. You might be on your period and that's why you have a headache, or you might have a brain tumor and that's why you have a
right.
headache. How you address each of those things is going to be wildly different. Okay? It's like,
Right.
if you get glasses for your brain tumor, that's going to not help. and
Right.
and honestly, I could give you a quick fix and say, here, take this Motrin or this Percocet or whatever, and take your headache away for a period of time. But unless you address why you have the headache in the first place, it's not going to matter. So how a perfectionist is going to address busyness is way different than, say, the person who wears her busyness like a badge of honor. They're
Sure.
just gonna not address it the same way at all. So yes, I think the very first thing you need to do is do some soul searching, and I kind of take you through that process in the book. Not that I want to just keep pointing people to the book, because I want to have the conversation here too, but it really does require you to step back and figure out what the root is. I do have a fun quiz if people want to take the quiz, and it kind of will start them in that direction. At least they can start to kind of be like, oh, that is definitely me, kind of the way you did when you went through the book. I have some some little self-assessment, and you can circle where you are, like, oh, that's definitely me. That sounds like me. And then from there, you can kind of start going through the process of, praying and going on a fast and asking God, writing everything out, seeing, where you are, what you can cancel, and sometimes you just have to just dump the whole thing and start over. I've done that. I'm just like, okay, I'm quitting everything. I don't know. I don't know what my problem is, but I'm going to quit everything. And God, I'm not putting one single thing back on my plate until you tell me to put it back on. So, that's bankruptcy. That's busyness bankruptcy.
That sounds kind of nice right about now, but
I know. I wouldn't start there. Don't declare bankruptcy first. First, take the quiz.
And I do recommend the quiz. I'm glad you mentioned that because I did that too. And Sandy sends you some neat information based on what your results were for the quiz. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And we'll put that in the show notes, how they can find you and access that. But yeah, I had a friend sit down with me at the beginning of the summer. I was stressed. I had just gotten back from a cruise. This was 2 days after I got home from the cruise. Who is stressed 2 days after they get home from a cruise? Well, I did go with my family, but still. And she was like, this is ridiculous. You shouldn't be stressed. Tell me what's going on. And I told her all the things. And and she said very wisely, what are the things that if you don't accomplish those at the end of this summer, you're going to feel like you failed? And I had 3. And she said, okay, you got to scrap the rest. Like it was kind of like that bankruptcy thing, except it was also the priorities thing. It was a lot of those strategies that you're mentioning put together. Because it did. It turned out that what I didn't want to let go was just, I didn't want to say no to this person because of how I wanted them to view me. Like it really, the root, when I looked at each one, why is this hard to scrap? It was looking at the root of the reason that I didn't want to scrap it. It had nothing to do with my calling to do that very thing. So.
Wow. That's really insightful. I want to hear more about that. I don't know if I want to delve deeper.
Well, it was just, it was interesting because I was taking your course this summer, and that was very intensive. I was still kind of writing a Bible study and then I had for the first time all of my kids back home for the summer. Like it was because my oldest was back home, graduated college, doing an internship, and it was just. But I had been volunteering at a shelter, and I loved the people that I worked with there, and didn't want to let them down, and somehow got on the advisory committee that I said I wasn't going to do, but I showed up just let me just see what it was just one of those people pleasing. That's really what it was. Or that sometimes I get the affirmation of that pat on the back, from Shelly serves here. Oh, we're so glad you serve, and it's like, oh, that's just making me feel really good about myself. And just some of the other things, just even, I don't have to do them all. I can, some of the things that were on my plate, I could delegate. I mean, there were, but it was just and I love that I have a friend, I have many, but that would sit down and go, okay, I'm going to talk straight with you. This is what you do. And I think sometimes we can't really see it. And I'll even throw this out. I may just be weird, but bless my husband's heart, he just can't always be the one to point them out to me. It just doesn't sit as well coming from him. Part of it is because he's so strong in this area. So it's just a no nonsense, margin. I think his middle name is Margin, and mine is not. My middle name, let's go do it. So
let's go do it. That's right.
Very
Shelly,
hard.
let's go do it.
Let's go do it, Sneed. But so, I think it drives him crazy that someone else will tell me what he was trying to tell me for 10 years. But if you got to have those people that can speak into your life and you not just turn them off for whatever reason.
I agree. I think that is, that's a good companion to the first step. Like when you're trying to get to the root of it, sometimes you need to ask the people who love you the most and who know you the best to ask them, say, this is everything that I've got on my plate. It's too much. I don't know where to cut. Help me. And sometimes that is such a great strategy. If you don't have those safe people in your life, I wouldn't go there first. But if you do, absolutely. I love it.
And, she was asking questions that, you could ask yourself, like, why aren't you letting this go? What are you can question asking questions of yourself is a powerful, powerful tool to get down to the whys of things we don't even realize why we're doing them.
Absolutely.
There were so many great insights that Sandy shared with us in this series, and I want to lay out real quickly for you the 5 strategies that you can access to help you find that balance in your life that you're searching for and that can keep you from this hurry hamster wheel life that we all want to avoid. So here they are in order of appearance on this episode. Number 1, understand your priorities. So write them down. What are your must-dos, even if nothing else gets accomplished? What do you value most? Understand God's priorities. Sandy mentioned love God, love others. Everything else will flow from this when that's the foundation. Number 2, ask yourself deep questions based on those priorities in that first strategy. What does loving God and loving people in your life look like right now? What is God asking of you in this specific season of your life? Number 3, embrace a process, not a quick fix or a Band-Aid. And I will put links to Sandy's episodes about routines. I highly recommend you get some routines in place daily and weekly that fit with your priorities. This is going to help you so much. Number 4, understand the root of your busyness. You can't find the solution until you learn what's causing the problem, right? Why is it so hard to let go of certain commitments? What's the real reason behind your yes to something? Is it truly aligned with your calling, or is it driven by a desire for affirmation or control or perfectionism? And I do recommend Sandy's quiz. It's a great starting point to help you identify your busyness personality. You're going to get back in an email once it determines what your business personality is, some even more practical strategies, which is great. So the link's in the show notes for that. And then finally, number 5, seek honest feedback from trusted friends. I was laughing with my friend Jody the other day because she is someone who will tell me like it is. Like if I ask her to prove something, I better be prepared to redo a few things because she's going to tell me the truth. And our friends can often see things or patterns in us that we can't see. So it's such an important step and strategy. Y'all, we got this. Let's take the time to analyze what got us in this mess, this busyness mess, and trust God and His wisdom to find a better, more balanced way to do all the things He has truly called us to do. As always, I'm praying you're able to see glimpses of God's glory in the now and the not yet of your unperfect life this week. Go check out the links to everything in the show notes, ways that you can connect with Sandy Cooper also, and try to think of at least one person that you can speak into their life positively by sending them a link to this episode. And I'll see you next time.